Hi, I'm Marc Mikulich, Technical Product Manager for Small Character Technologies at Squid Ink. Today we're going to discuss how to backflush the nozzle on your JetStream print head. All right, you might be wondering why we would be backflushing the nozzle on our JetStream print head. There are a few different scenarios. The two most common would be maybe you're having some print quality issues with the system, or you're having some ink stream alignment issues with your system. Typically, if we're backflushing a nozzle, it is because of inkjet or ink alignment deviation issues, which subsequently can cause print quality issues too. What can cause that is some debris, maybe an aggressive piece of dried up ink, whatever it might be, behind your nozzle. That debris can partially block your jet. It can cause it to deviate, shoot off at an angle, whatever it might be. This backflush procedure will allow us to get that debris removed from behind the nozzle and get that recovered into the system, okay? So first we're going to look at where you can actually find that feature in the software, and then we'll discuss how to prepare yourself to actually use this function, how to get the print head set up, all that good stuff. If you're not familiar with the inkjet alignment or what I even mean by that, we're going to insert a couple of handy images that show how the ink stream should be aligned. Typically when we're talking about the alignment, we're referencing where our inkjet actually goes into the gutter tube or the return tube that recaptures the ink that we don't print with. It goes back into the system. So when we're talking about correct alignment, you'll hear us reference the 3 o'clock position. That's from a perspective of the print head pointing away from you, and the stream is going into the gutter at, again, a 3 o'clock position. So basically vertically it's centered, but horizontally we cheat it off to the right-hand side. We'll try to get a shot of that on the print head, but again, the images that we insert into the video here will give a much better visual aid as to what we're looking for. And again, if you're not seeing that, if you're not seeing the correct alignment, that is why we would be going into this backflush process. Okay, first we're going to locate where the backflush function is in our programming. So on our display, we're going to go to Settings. We're going to go to Ink System, and then you're going to see Backflush Nozzle, bottom center of the screen. I'm not going to click that yet, but we do want to have this pulled up and ready for when we do have the print head situated and ready to go for this feature. One thing I do want to point out is if you do have slightly older software on your JetStream printer, the terminology for this feature has changed a little bit. So on previous software revisions, this was actually labeled as purge. Now it's labeled as backflush nozzle with the newer revisions. It does the exact same thing, whether it says purge or backflush nozzle, but I just want you guys to be aware. If you do see purge, that's perfectly fine. It's going to do the exact same thing. All right, a couple of items we're going to need up front in order to run this procedure. We're going to need some cleaning solvent. Okay, so make sure you have a squeeze bottle of cleaning solvent and make sure that that cleaner matches the makeup base that you are using with your printer. If you're not sure, all you need to do is pull the makeup cartridge out of your machine and verify that your cleaner matches your makeup. The other item you're going to need is a hand dryer bulb. Every single JetStream printer comes with one of these. Make sure you do locate this and have it ready. After we do the backflush process, we're going to need this to quickly dry off some of the hardware components in the print head. One other item you will also want to have for this process is just some sort of cleaning tray or catch tray. We will have a little bit of fluid dripping off the head or running off the head when we do this. Every system does also come with just a little aluminum catch tray like this. It's a really good idea to have this ready when we do take the print head out, to have something to place it over, okay? Okay, so now we're going to take the print head out of the sleeve. The system is actively jetting. We're not printing, so print is off, but it is jetting. I do want to point out the hydraulics have to be running in order to run this procedure, okay? We still need to be generating a vacuum in the system that we can take advantage of for this backflush process. So in this scenario, we're basically working in a situation where the inkjet is slightly deviated, but it's not making a mess or anything like that. So we're having some print quality issues, but it's not a severe situation where the jet is, completely missing our return gutter altogether and making a mess. So we can take the print head out of the sleeve. Again, it is actively jetting, and what we're going to do ultimately is we need to take our cleaning solvent and we're going to have to spray it at our nozzle here. Now, before we can do that, we need to actually activate the backflush procedure, because right now the system is jetting. Okay. Before I do any of that, what I will do is take off this inner stainless steel cover. Now, you don't have to do this, but it will give you a better visual idea of what's going on here. What I mean by that is we're actually going to be able to see what we call a bleed line, or the backflush line, where the solvent that we are spraying at the assembly is being sucked back through. So we'll be able to visually see that fluid going backwards through the head and back into the filtration system of the printer. If you do want to remove this inner cover to see what's going on, there are just 4 small Phillips screws that hold this in place. So all I'm going to do right now is remove these screws, take the cover off, and then we'll be able to see what's going on. Okay, so now we have access again to that bleed line, or that backflush line, we call it. So what we'll be able to see when we actually run this procedure is we should see fluid traveling backwards through this line. Okay, so again, it's just a good visual aid to make sure we're actually getting fluid through the assembly. This line also ties into this small backflush line here, or bleed line as well. So we'll see fluid traveling all the way through the head and again out to the filtration system. Okay, once you've got the print head out of the sleeve and set up so you're ready to do this backflush procedure, what you need to do is click the backflush nozzle button, or again, if you have older software, it might read as purge. And what will happen is you're going to get a status bar that pops up on the display, basically telling you how much time you have for this procedure to take place. What's going to happen is there's going to be about a 10-second delay, and then the ink stream is actually going to deactivate in the print head. So it's going to close the ink valve in the head and just cut that stream off. The hydraulics are still running internally. Again, we have to do that so we can still generate a vacuum in the system. So what happens is that the ink valve closes, and then this bleed valve, we call it, or backflush valve, this will open, and that will apply the vacuum that we need to the gum body assembly and to that nozzle. Okay, so basically when the inkjet shuts off, you need to be ready to spray solvent directly at the nozzle. All right, this is an automatic process as far as when it stops allowing you to do that and when it reinitiates jetting. You have about 20 seconds total. So you spray solvent for a few seconds. You'll see solvent traveling backwards through that backflush line or bleed line. You're going to stop spraying solvent again after a few seconds. You're going to take your dryer bulb and you're going to dry off your print head as best you can. And when we get close to that status bar going to 100%, we need to stop everything that we're doing, because the system is going to reinitiate or turn the inkjet back on. Okay, so naturally we don't want to be spraying solvent or hitting the head with air at that time. So it's fairly important you kind of keep track of what's going on your display. The system's telling you how much time you have left, so just keep an eye on that. Again, it's a fairly quick process, so we'll physically do it now so you get a good idea of how this works. Okay, so we're going to hit Backflush nozzle, and you'll see our status bar pop up here. Again, there's about a 10-second delay before the inkjet actually shuts off. You'll notice, I'll point out during that time, our head is at an angle over the catch tray, so the fluid will run off here. So we're ready to spray solvent. And now if you notice that backflush line, you can see my fluid traveling backwards. And that's all it takes. A few seconds, dry it quick as best you can, and the inkjet is back on. Now you'll notice I didn't do a great job of drying this off. There's still some solvent and some fluid down here. If that happens, you can go ahead and just do another backflush nozzle cycle. You can spend less time spraying solvent at the nozzle and a little bit more time drying this off. So I'll do it one more time. I'm going to click backflush nozzle. Again, the inkjet is still running. There's a little bit of a delay here. You'll hear the valves cycle when it's done. Okay. So now I can spray solvent. And then we'll dry the head off as best we can. It's really important when you dry the print head off after you do this that we especially get this charge tunnel dried out. Otherwise fluid can sit in there, and when the jet reactivates it'll make a little bit of a splash. So you'll notice there's still a little bit of solvent down here. The solvent will kind of naturally evaporate on its own, or you can hit it with a little bit of air. But just let that dry up, and that's all there is to it. If you do have a situation where you do need to run this cycle, this backflush process, so again, we're working under the in a scenario where the inkjet is deviating a little bit, it's a really good idea you do this at least 2 or 3 times to make sure that if that is the issue, you've got it corrected before we ever go towards an actual physical realignment of the jet. So it's really important. 99% of the time, if you do have a deviated jet, it is because of debris or some dried up ink, and this backflush procedure is going to take care of that problem for you. Another helpful trick here too, if you're done backflushing the nozzle and that's corrected your inkjet deviation problem, and you still have maybe a little bit of a mess on the print head, you can use this to your advantage, the backflush nozzle feature in that situation as well, to get just the print head in general clean. You may have seen in our previous video how to clean the print head. We want to make sure when we're done doing this that all those hardware components are still clean. But again, if we want to avoid completely shutting the printer off just to do that, we can click backflush nozzle, still let it run its process, but we don't have to spray solvent directly at the nozzle at that time. Again, if our problem has been corrected, what we can do is use that time to actually wash off the rest of the print head and dry it off, and then the system will just again reactivate jetting as normal. So what I'm going to do is click backflush nozzle, clean the print head off, just our critical hardware components, dry it off, and let the system start jetting again on its own. All right, once your backflushing process is complete, if you did remove this inner cover, of course make sure that you put that back on. Now again, the system is actively jetting. If you're not comfortable putting this back on while there's an active inkjet, you can always shut the system down, but if you're careful, you can get this on. Like my system right now is jetting, so we'd put those 4 screws back in, and then we're okay to slide the print head back into the sleeve. All right, if you want to try to visually verify that your ink stream alignment is correct or isn't correct, there's a couple of really easy tricks. Again, the alignment that we're looking for is what we call 3 o'clock position. That's if you're looking at it from the back of the head, sighting down the gutter tube, that stream should be vertically centered but cheated off to the right. If you want to make sure that that's correct, there's 2 different ways you can look at this. One is, if you look at it from the side, it's good to have a white background or a light background. If you look from the side, you'll see our little black inkjet down here going into the gutter. And again, when we're looking at it from the side, we're actually looking at the vertical alignment, if you will. That should be centered vertically. If we want to look at the horizontal alignment, an easy trick is just take a small piece of white paper and carefully slide it underneath the jet. So right between the gutter and these 2 deflection plates, you can fit a piece of paper in there and you'll be able to see that stream of ink. And from this perspective, we want the jet to be cheating off to the right side. Okay, there's another possible scenario too with in a backflush situation. Again, if the inkjet is deviating and we have to do this backflush process, and that is if the jet is deviating so badly that it's basically completely missing the gutter altogether. Okay, so there's ink, essentially just spraying all over inside the head. If that's happening, what the printer is normally going to do is it's going to shut itself off. There is a gutter sensor in the print head. It's going to recognize that there's no ink traveling back through the system. It's going to turn itself off. We still need to be able to backflush the nozzle to fix that. So we need to tell the printer to ignore the gutter alarm in that situation. So in order to do that, we would go into our settings page, setting, and we would go to our alarm setting. The very first option in the alarm setting page is the gutter status or gutter alarm. We're going to turn that off. Okay, basically what we're doing is telling the printer we don't care if there's no ink going into the gutter. We still need to be able to start up the hydraulics and run the system so that we can do a backflush process. So it's the same backflush procedure. Again, it's just in a scenario where the jet is so badly deviated, ink is basically missing the gutter altogether. So we're bypassing the gutter. We're going to do our backflush. That will hopefully correct the inkjet deviation. And when it does, we're just going to come back in here and re-enable the gutter when we're all done. If you do forget to do this, by default, if there's ever a power cycle to the machine, these alarms go right back to on.